In the sacred pages of the Gospel according to St. Matthew, we find the story of Jesus Christ, his teachings, his miracles, and his ultimate sacrifice. Join us as we journey through the Gospel of Matthew, exploring its profound truths and timeless wisdom. The Gospel of Matthew begins with the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus delivers some of his most famous teachings, including the Beatitudes and the Lord's Prayer. Here, he calls his disciples to a life of humility, compassion, and righteousness. Throughout the Gospel, Jesus demonstrates his divine authority through powerful miracles, healing the sick, raising the dead, and calming the stormy seas. These miracles reveal his compassion for the suffering and his power over the forces of nature. Jesus calls ordinary men to become his disciples, inviting them to leave behind their livelihoods and follow him. These men, including Peter, Andrew, James, and John, become his closest companions and witnesses to his ministry. Jesus confronts the religious leaders of his time, exposing their hypocrisy and calling them to true righteousness and justice. He challenges their legalistic interpretations of the law and calls for a heart transformation rooted in love and mercy. As Jesus enters Jerusalem on Palm Sunday, he is greeted with shouts of Hosanna and adoration from the crowds. Yet, he knows that his journey will lead him to the cross, where he will fulfill his mission of redemption and salvation. At the Last Supper, Jesus shares a final meal with his disciples, breaking bread and sharing the cup, symbolizing his body and blood. He instructs them to do this in remembrance of him, foreshadowing his imminent sacrifice on the cross. In the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus wrestles with the agony of his impending crucifixion, praying to his Father, "Not as I will, but as you will." Here, he surrenders himself to the Father's plan, willingly laying down his life for the salvation of humanity. Jesus is betrayed by Judas, arrested, and brought before Pontius Pilate, who finds no fault in him yet yields to the demands of the crowd. He is condemned to death by crucifixion, fulfilling the prophecy of the suffering servant foretold in the Scriptures. The Gospel of Matthew culminates in the resurrection of Jesus Christ, the triumph over sin and death. He appears to his disciples, commissioning them to go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.